We were gonna go up and basically do my standard sightseeing flight. And our expectation was to go up and be back for lunch and then head home.
Out in open country, the friends find flying is the perfect way to watch the local wildlife.
Larry was looking here, looking there, pointing. He was like a kid in a candy store.
It was gorgeous, and all positives and nothing but fun and Yahoo, yay.
An hour into the flight, the friends decide to head higher into the mountains. In front of them is a vast ridge of snow-capped peaks. But as Justin tries to pull up and over them,
I looked at the instruments. You have a feet per minute indicator, up or down. And we were doing almost 800 feet a minute down.
a strong downdraft is dragging them straight into the mountains.
If I didn't do anything, I mean, that's gonna be a horrible crash. You gotta start making decisions. So I tried to turn the plane. But the stall warning would beep. If you stall, then you fall out of the sky. What I needed to do was get us on the ground without killing anybody.
Justin's pilot training kicks in. He knows he has to stay calm.
At that point, it became about slowing the aircraft down to minimize the impact as much as possible.
Your adrenaline goes off like crazy.
All of a sudden, you're about to die.
Time slows down.
We hit the trees.
Big, horrible banging noises.
Miraculously, Justin is completely unscathed. But the three friends are far from out of trouble.
The first thing that I remember seeing was the fuel. It was just like, oh my God, that's fuel. That scared me.
One spark could turn the wreck into a giant fireball.
Larry! We gotta get out now, Larry! Fuel's everywhere, we gotta go!
I told Larry, you have to get out of the aircraft right now. And he told me that his leg hurt. I explained to him he has to get out now if he doesn't want to burn to death.
Finally got it together. I managed to go backward out of the plane.
The plane could blow at any second. But Tommy is unconscious. He's taken a serious blow to the head.
Wake up! Tommy, wake up, man, we gotta get out of here! Tommy! We got fuel everywhere, wake up, wake up!
I yelled at him and he didn't respond.
Tommy! Please!
I was very concerned that I'd killed one of my best friends.
Tommy, come on!
Justin has to haul Tommy's 220-pound dead weight out of the plane.
The first thing I remember is a horrible pain in my side, and I believe that is when Justin broke my ribs.
The three friends have to get away from the fuel-soaked wreck. But Larry can't walk.
As soon as I put any weight on the leg, I just I immediately fell over and screamed.
Larry, get up, come on, stand up, stand up. Head up, boy, come on, go.
When I got him to his feet, the pain in my side was excruciating. But I felt it was more important to get away from the gasoline than it was to worry about the pain.
The three men somehow manage to get far enough away and out of danger.
I looked at the plane. It was, wow, we could have all died. I thought, we're pretty lucky to walk out of that one.
Tommy and Larry are both seriously injured. As well as his broken ribs, Tommy has also taken a massive impact to his head. There's no way of telling if he has brain damage or internal bleeding.
The most life-threatening injury I had was the blow to the side of my head that had knocked me unconscious.
Larry's left foot took the full impact of the crash, leaving his lower leg and ankle badly broken.
It was useless, so I couldn't walk. There wasn't much that could be done for me. It had to be left alone.
Tommy and Larry both need emergency medical care before it's too late. But the men are stranded, miles from rescue, in an inhospitable mountain range. Justin is the only one uninjured. And as the pilot, he feels it's up to him to save them.
I definitely had a deep sense of responsibility to protect my friends and to get them the help that they needed. So we're in this situation. What do you do to make it better? I needed to do something. I was thinking about going back to the aircraft to make a radio call.
Now pilot Justin Kirkbride has to risk turning on the electrics if he's going to transmit an SOS call and save his two severely injured friends.
For me, my thought process was that I was probably going to burn to death. But I just decided that it was worth the risk. I truly believed that as soon as I turned the batteries on, that it was game over. I took a deep breath and nothing happened.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
So I made my call.
November 3535 Echo. Cessna 172 due north of Durango in a canyon. Unknown.
But there's no response to his mayday call.
You know, I had no way of knowing if there was any signal that got out at all. And realistically, nobody knows where we are. My initial thought was that I need to get help here.
They're in the middle of a mountain wilderness. And there's no guarantee the rescue services even know they've crashed. Larry is completely immobile, and Tommy's massive hit to the head could develop into serious brain damage if he's not treated soon.
I just put in a mayday call. I don't know if it got out.
I definitely felt like I'd let them down.
I'm so sorry. It's all my fault.
I needed to do something to get them the help that they needed.
Look. It was an accident. It wasn't your fault.
He felt really badly about it. So he was going to do everything he could to get us off that mountain as quickly as possible.
Justin believes the only way of getting help is by hiking out into the icy wilderness, unprepared and totally alone. He knows he's risking frostbite and even hypothermia, but he can't stay here and watch his buddy slowly die.
Are you sure you're okay?
I'm fine. I think I can get help.
Justin remembers flying over the town of Durango 10 minutes before they crashed.
I can get to Durango.
I knew that it probably wasn't more than maybe 15 miles.
Look, you're gonna have to talk to Larry. Say something. Reassure him. All right?
Yeah, okay. Larry. Larry. Have you ever been in a helicopter? No. I'm gonna get you one, okay? Soon.
Justin faces an added challenge. He has to get there by nightfall. Temperatures in the Colorado Rockies can plummet to minus 30 degrees as darkness falls. All three men are only lightly dressed and could freeze to death by morning.
Dark to me was a definitive end, so I was more worried about getting help before dark than anything else.
But Justin is actually over 20 miles from Durango, in the middle of a vast, unforgiving wilderness. The rugged terrain and freezing conditions will test him to the absolute limit.
Come on. Go. Come on.
You know, walking in snow and, no trails, it's not easy.
Justin has no map or compass, and only a vague sense of which direction he's heading.
I walked down to the end of the little gully that we were in.
And he's shocked by what lies ahead.
I didn't really recognize how far it was until I could look down the canyon. It looked like the canyon went on forever. I mean, it looked like a really long wait. This is impossible. Let's be real here.
Back at the plane wreck, Tommy's concerned it's not just the mountains that could jeopardize Justin's chances of getting rescue soon.
After Justin walked off, I thought that I didn't keep him there quite long enough to see that he wasn't internally injured and he could easily walk down the hill 100 yards away and fall down and bleed out from an internal injury and never know.
Tommy is seriously worried about his friend. He knows Justin's body was pumping with adrenaline, which acts as a natural painkiller, and now its effects may have worn off.
Between the time of the crash and the time Justin left, again, that was not a long period of time. It was probably 25 minutes. So 25 minutes with adrenaline still pumping, it's hard to assess somebody's condition.
All Tommy and Larry can do is sit and wait, knowing that Justin's efforts to save them might be slowly killing him.
If Justin hadn't made it out, if he'd fallen and died on the trail or whatever, then we were not in good shape.
The task facing Justin is near impossible. He's completely unprepared for the freezing night that looms ahead. And between him and the nearest town are miles of mountains and waist-deep snow.
I knew that that probably wasn't doable before dark. But I would have to keep moving because otherwise I was probably going to freeze to death.
There are just 3 hours of daylight left, and Justin is already tiring. But if he doesn't find help soon, he and his friends are at serious risk from hypothermia.
I was maybe going, 1.5 miles an hour, maybe, something like that. I wasn't going very fast.
But then, Justin spots a possible lifeline.
I could see a creek. For the most part, it was 6-8 inches deep, so it was easier for me to walk down the creek bed, and I could make better time than I could walking on the banks.
The water in the creek is freezing, and the longer Justin spends in this extreme cold, in wet, lightweight clothes, the more he risks hypothermia. But it's his only hope of getting help before nightfall.
To get into the creek was a very difficult decision to make. But I had to get them the help that they needed. And then once I got into the creek, I started running. I thought to myself, if I hurt myself significantly, I wasn't gonna make it out. Nobody knew where I was, and especially now, I was a long ways from my friends and from the wreck. So you can't run. You sprain an ankle and you die.
It's just 2 hours to nightfall, and with no sign of their friend, Tommy and Larry have to prepare themselves for a battle with hypothermia.
As it was getting colder, that's when it really became scary.
Larry's left ankle and lower leg are badly broken. He's unable to move and so generate warmth. And with no guarantee Justin will make it out alive, Tommy knows he can't just sit and watch his brother-in-law die.
I would start thinking about planning ahead, seeing what can I possibly do to ensure that we're not going to die here in this spot, not freeze to death. It all depended on what I did, whether we lived the night or not.
What are you doing, Tommy? Try and work us a shelter.
Tommy took the lead because he had had survivalist type training. There was a great level of comfort knowing that the person that I was stuck with in this difficult situation probably was about the best person it could have been.
Tommy knows a shelter will protect them from the worst of the freezing temperatures, and could just be enough to get them through the night. But to build it, he will have to risk making his injuries worse by trekking back and forth from the plane.
With broken ribs and head injury, I wasn't sure that I'd be physically able to expend that much energy.
Tommy's head injury plays havoc with his coordination. With every fall, he puts stress on his broken ribs, risking a life-threatening punctured lung.
The pain was horrible. With the broken ribs, it was just very, very painful, pushing back up, getting out of the snow, getting your balance again, and then trudging off again through the snow.
Zimbabwe, Africa, home to some of the most varied animal life in the world, much of it under threat from poachers and encroaching civilization. Greg Rasmussen was born in England but came to Africa as a young boy. For the past 12 years, he's dedicated himself to saving a rare species of African dog on the brink of extinction.
I've always been passionate about wildlife from day one. I mean, even as a child, I love the bush, I love Africa. It holds an endless fascination. I mean, it's always changing, and there's just so much to learn. It's like a book that just never ends.
Greg is one of the few pilots in the area, and even though he's busy with his own project, he's agreed to help a fellow conservationist search for a lost rhino.
People very concerned about the rhino, and National Park said, would I assist? And I said, of course I will. If wildlife needs help, I'll help.
Greg's a capable pilot, but flying a plane and tracking animals requires intense concentration, and he'll be flying over unfamiliar terrain.
And I was aware of that, I was fully aware of that, but we had rhinos that needed locating. There were poachers out there. I mean, you can't turn your back. I can't turn my back on things like that.
An ultralight plane is a cheap and efficient way to cover the African bush, but is also very dangerous to fly under certain weather conditions.
Temperatures in the day can be very, very hot. Tricky flying conditions for a light aircraft. Because, you know, it's hot, the air's thin. So it's quite hard keeping the plane up in the air. This was a very harsh, dry, rocky, rugged area. I'd never flown that area before, and I realized I was in a completely different territory.
The rhino is electronically tagged, and in no time, Greg's tracking device picks it up.
I just found it. I hadn't actually seen it, but I realized that it was alive by this movement signal. And I was just starting to circle out. And as I turned the plane, suddenly I went into something known as a wing storm. Literally, one wing's flying and one wing isn't. Suddenly I had this gut-wrenching feeling. I put full power on the rudder. Pulling back on the stick, I was doing the right thing, and it wasn't working. And the plane started to go down in a spiral. And the ground was coming up pretty damn fast. And then there's a split second. You know you've passed the point of any return. I almost didn't want to open my eyes. I didn't know what I was going to see, what I was going to feel, what I was going to find. I was totally dazed, stunned. And I was like, I'm alive. I'm alive. And at that second, petrol started dripping over me. And I just pulled myself out, literally almost fell out of the plane. As the petrol started to come down, I had these visions of this wall of fire. And I could just see myself being incinerated alive. And I knew my legs were doing nothing. I couldn't do anything with the legs at all, but I just had to get away from this plane. I mean, this thing was a nightmare now. And then I suddenly thought, Mayday, I've got to call Mayday. And I didn't want to go back to that plane. I didn't want to go near it. But I had to brave it, because I knew that that was my only means of survival. And I knew the quicker I got a message out, the better.
Greg has to try and make a call. No one knows exactly where he is or that he has crashed. He has no survival gear with him, no food, no water, and he's severely injured.
Mayday! Mayday!
And the whole handset was hot. The crash had short-circuited all the batteries and had literally fried my only means of survival, the emergency radio. And then something happened that literally just changed almost everything. The pain hit, because the adrenaline had worn off.
On the outside of his body, Greg has only a few superficial scrapes, but inside he is bleeding badly, and his legs are broken in 6 different places.
That was a pain that I'd never experienced before. Anything like it, anything that even came close to it. My legs felt like they were going to explode from within. My feet were just doing this. My legs were just one big lump of jelly. And I realized I had to stay in control. You know, I had to be in control of the situation, because if you lose control, that's it. I was going to be a goner. I started to try and take stock of the situation. And it was quite a harsh reality. I suddenly realized there was no 999. There was, you know, if I was going to get out of this, it was only going to be me and me alone.
Greg is over 70 miles away from the nearest road. By the time anyone realizes he's in trouble, it may be too late. The brutal heat of the African sun will bake him alive. If he survives that, he will face worse horrors. As night approaches and hungry predators come out to feed. Unable to move, Greg is easy meat. But right now the pain from his smashed legs is all he can think of.
There was this pain in my ankles. They felt like they were going to explode, because I'd got these boots on. Yeah, and of course there was no space for the swelling to go. There was no way I could even get anywhere near my shoelaces. But I was thinking, if I don't get those boots off, there's going to be gangrene, and I'm going to lose my feet. I lose my legs. I managed to look back, and I thought, well, maybe if I can drag myself to this tree, I can tilt my body forward so that I can maybe get to my shoelaces somehow. I wanted to stop that pain. Because, I mean, it was like my foot was exploding.
Fate is being cruel today. The closest tree to Greg is a thorn tree. But as its thorns dig deep into his back, Greg realizes they might be useful.
And I managed to just break a twig off that was about a foot long, and it got a hooked thorn on the end of it. And I lay there and I could hardly focus. There was just so much pain. I started to pick the shoelace. I thought, well, this is all I've got. And I remember I had a little flashback to childhood, because I was always absolutely useless with shoelaces. I then realized I had one chance. If I pull and the knot doesn't spill, then I've blown it. That's that foot gone.
Greg manages to loosen the shoelaces and get them both to the same stage, but nothing happens.
But the boots remained absolutely solid on my feet. And I realized then I had to pick the shoelace eye by eye through every single eyelet. And all the time, all I'm thinking of is, if I don't get those boots off, I'm going to lose my feet. And it was almost, it was like a nightmare. Ah! I had to remain as focused as I could. And I picked and I kept on picking until I finally got to the point where the shoelace was free. Ah!
Loosening his boots isn't having the effect Greg expected. The pain is just as bad because his feet keep swelling up to fill the newly expanded space. He has to try something else.
I saw a stick. And that was all there was. I thought, well, that's the only tool there is that I can see other than rock. I'll go for that. And as I even just touched the shoe, the pain was just, it was terrible. And I thought, oh my God, I'm not, you know, and now I've got to push this. And absolutely bizarre, you know, then I had a flashback to a movie. You know, I mean, ridiculous. It was a John Wayne movie, you know. Oh, well, you bite on that while I cut this. And I grabbed this stick. And as I pushed and I bit, this stick was just rotten. It was full of termites. And my mouth was now even drier than before, and I went, but I pushed with such force. The shoe came off. And I just forced the other shoe off. And lay there. And I looked at my watch. And it had taken me 2.5 hours.
"200 miles away, Greg's best friend and colleague, Peter Blinston, waits for him to return. Together they run a conservation project dedicated to saving the African painted dog, one of the world's most endangered species.
We have this same passion for the dogs. We have a lot of belief in each other's abilities. And that just comes through at the end of the day.
Peter, phone call, please.
The phone rang. I just felt nervous. This kind of sense of something's wrong.
Yeah, Peter.
It was Norman English, he's the warden over at Cinematella. He said, Greg's missing. People talk about this kind of cold hand or something that grips you, but I really did just go like icy cold. I was then thinking, I have to find him.
In the heat of the midday sun, the temperature is now over 100 degrees. Greg hasn't had any water for over 24 hours, and his body is rapidly showing the effects of dehydration.
It was hot and it was dry. There wasn't an ounce of moisture in the air. I hadn't drunk the whole day because an elephant had destroyed the water pipes in our area where I'd taken off from. It wasn't like feeling thirsty at all. It was almost like being tortured. Everything was just so dry, and your skin just didn't feel like skin anymore. There was no texture to anything. You know, you tried to touch with your tongue to touch the roof of your mouth. It just felt like it wasn't there.
As Greg lies out in the open, a vulture, quick to sense a meal, lands on a nearby tree.
And I thought, not yet.
Yeah, I'm not ready for you, mate.
It was scorching hot. You know, dehydration was going to be my next enemy to deal with. But also predators was a major concern of mine.
The animals that Greg devotes his life to saving could now turn against him. The landscape is alive with wild beasts looking for food. They may look sleepy and harmless in a city zoo, but in their natural habitat, they are deadly.